Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Going straight from a busy and stressful day and trying to enter right into, well, sexy time, that's pretty much impossible, if I'm being honest. But we as women constantly are trying to force ourselves into this situation. We're focused on how little time we have available and trying to make the most of it, or trying to please our husband, or any number of other things. But look, ladies, our brains and bodies don't actually work that way. Your husband's does. And that's why we often think we should be able to immediately enter into a more intimate time with our spouse. In today's episode, I'm going to give you a tried and true method for transitioning from the day into whatever the night has in store, relaxed and ready, and it's only going to take you 10 minutes. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the sex and intimacy podcast for Catholic women. My name is Ellen Holloway, and I am a Catholic speaker and coach who specializes in sex and marital intimacy, and I am on a mission to help you actually enjoy and desire good, holy sex with your spouse. So let's get started with a little story. I want to tell you about Kelly. Kelly has 4 kids. She homeschools them, and today, she had soccer practice for one of them and dance for the other. She also made double dinner tonight because her friend just had a baby and she wanted to support in some way. Kelly and her husband Jason every night tag team bedtime so that it runs smoothly-ish. It's definitely still a mess most nights. After the kids are down, they always go finish cleaning up the downstairs and then head to bed. Kelly knows it's coming because it's been a few days since they've had sex and, well, really she'd like to, but gosh, she's tired. So she's not going to be the one to initiate here. Jason pulls the covers off the bed in that way that he does right before he's going to suggest sex. And Kelly agrees because, well, she really would like to, and she loves Jason, even though she's really burnt out from a busy, but if she's being totally honest, sort of normal day. They start kissing a bit and touching each other, but Kelly still has a ton of thoughts running through her head. She just feels like she can't get in the mood. Oh, I hope that family liked the meal I dropped off. Jimmy's coach is going to kill me if I get him to practice late again tomorrow. Mary's dance recital is coming up and I still need to make that prop piece she's supposed to use. No, Kelly, stop. It's time to be present to your husband. He's obviously fully present and enjoying this. What is wrong with me? Sound familiar? If so, you are just like pretty much every woman in the history of the world because you are so good at multitasking that it is almost impossible to actually fully focus on one task unless you actually set yourself up for success. And how do you do that? The 10-minute unwind. Why do we need this? Women's brains are inherently multitask brains. It's actually part of a survival instinct that we're supposed to be able to multitask and be doing one thing while also being aware of children running around, being aware of possible animals, like entering into the kind of campsite, right? If we take it back to hunter-gatherer time, this was necessary for women to be able to have multiple things going on in her brain at once and still be able to fully function. But that survival instinct, which is actually incredibly helpful, especially if you're running a household and kind of in charge of the family's schedule, it can be so helpful if you're good at multitasking. But it can really hinder us if we need to put all of our focus on one thing. And that it really comes into play during sex. We need to transition into a task that requires full attention. We can't just switch and expect our brain to follow. We need 10 minutes or longer. This is actually something we see in basically every other area of our life. And we never really question it when we have trouble just like fully entering into a task immediately with other things. But when it comes to sex, we're like, oh, we should just be able to flip a switch, ready to go. And My example that I want to give is prayer, because we have so many incredible theologians and saints who talk about prayer, but who also talk about distraction in prayer and like getting into prayer. And I came across this incredible quote from a book written by Father Timothy Gallagher. And the book is called Meditation and Contemplation. Father Timothy Gallagher has tons of books on Ignatian spirituality, beautiful, beautiful books. But this book, Meditation and Contemplation, here's a quote. "We generally do not begin our prayer at the deep point of communion with God. Most often, as we begin, we need time simply to enter into prayer, to disengage from other concerns and to awaken the inmost inwardness of our hearts, where in faith we encounter the God we love." Let me take this quote and just flip it around for sex, and you'll see what I mean, and just how kind of ridiculous it is that we sometimes just expect ourselves to be able to immediately be ready for sex. We generally do not begin sex at the deep point of communion with our spouse. Like, AKA, we don't begin sex with intercourse. Most often, as we begin, we need time simply to enter in to intimacy, to disengage from other concerns, and to awaken the inwardness of our hearts, where in faith, in love, we encounter the person we love, right? We encounter our spouse. We need time simply to disengage and enter in. And that is exactly what this 10-minute unwind is. We spend almost our entire day outside of ourselves. We are doing, going, working, producing. What we need to do in order to be able to fully focus on the important and intimate task, for lack of a better word, of sex, is we need to spend a little time within ourselves, not outside of ourselves. So, what is the 10-minute unwind? This is 10 minutes or more of dedicated, conscious relaxation alone. This ideally looks like prayer or meditation, but I'm going to give you some other options as well. The main thing here is that this is a stark contrast to your day. This is quiet, absolutely no phones, no technology. This is not a time to scroll social media or catch 10 minutes of the show that you're watching. That is not true relaxation. And that's not allowing you to enter inside of yourself, be within yourself. This is also not 10 minutes of checking things off your to-do list or 10 minutes of making your to-do list. It's about clearing and quieting your mind. If the thought of that kind of scares you, or maybe you're just confused, I have 3 concrete things that you can do during this time, and that's how we're going to finish this episode. So what I want you to do later today, tonight, after you listen to this episode, I want you to pick one of these 3 things. I want you to do that for 10 minutes. Set a timer if you need to. And I think you'll really notice a massive shift in how you are able to approach the evening, whether or not the evening includes sex. But this will especially help if the evening includes sex. Before we get to the rest of the episode, I have a question for you. Is sexual pleasure something that seems just out of grasp? Or maybe something you've never or rarely actually experienced? Sexual pleasure, and orgasm in particular, is something that a lot of Catholic women struggle with. Whether it's because of a misunderstanding of the point of sexual pleasure and God's design for it, or a lifetime of suppressing anything to do with sex because it was bad or dirty, maybe shame from past sexual experiences, or maybe just that no one ever stopped to walk you through an in-depth anatomical diagram and tell you about how female pleasure works. Whatever it is, orgasm is a confusing jumble of anatomy, mindset, partner dynamics, and a lot more. And it's not something that you want to Google because you never know what you're going to come across on the internet. And sifting through secular crap is just not something you have time for. That is why I created the Orgasm course for Catholic women. This course walks you through everything from anatomy to mindset to theology to the partner aspect of sex and orgasm. And it is all deeply rooted in Catholic truth. There is nowhere else that you can get all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff. Check out the Orgasm course for Catholic women at vindsandfullbloom.com/orgasm or click the link in the show notes. All right. So the first idea is you can pull out your Bible, pick a gospel, and start reading until something strikes you. And then just pause and entertain the thought that strikes you. Ponder, pray with that thought until you're ready to keep reading. Do this for 10 minutes. You might only read a few lines, or you might read a few chapters. This has nothing to do with how much or how little you are reading. It has everything to do with quieting your mind. The second concrete suggestion is lay on your back, cruciform on your bed, and starting with your head, walk through your entire body, every inch of it. Bring awareness to each part of your body and consciously relax that spot and then move on. So you would start with the top of your head and consciously relax that. Move on to your face. Really relax that face. Your jaw. We often hold a lot of tension in our jaw. Relax your jaw. Your neck. Your shoulders. That's another big one that we hold tension in. Arms, hands, chest, and so on until you get to your toes. At that point, you ideally aren't holding any tension in your body, and you have relaxed both your body and your mind. And you don't necessarily need to time this one. This is going to take a while, and it likely will take close to 10 minutes if you're moving nice and slowly through your entire body. The third suggestion that I have is grab a journal or notebook and don't plan on writing anything. Just sit in silence and clear your mind. But Ellen, why do I need a notebook if I'm just sitting in silence? Great question. The notebook is for those pesky thoughts that won't go away. For example, you sit and try to quiet your mind, and then you remember that Jesse has a library book due and you have to find it before Friday, and you cannot forget again to return a library book or the library is actually going to revoke your card. So you quickly jot down library book, and then you return to quieting your mind. You won't forget now. It's in your notebook. The most important thing with this idea, this third idea here, is that this is not a to-do list making session. The notebook is for those random thoughts that just have to be written down or they won't let you calm your mind and relax, like the library book example. So let's go back to Kelly and Jason. Instead of the original scenario, after they tag team the kids and get them settled for the night, Jason heads downstairs to finish up any cleanup that needs to be done, and Kelly heads into the bedroom for a 10-minute unwind. Kelly decides to read some of the Gospel of Mark, and after 10 minutes, her head is so much clearer, and she can even feel that tension that she was holding from the day. She can feel that it's less because she intentionally sat and just listened to God's word for a few minutes. Now, when Jason comes upstairs and suggests sex, she much more readily says yes, and she's able to begin enjoying herself almost immediately. This is what the 10-minute unwind does. It actually primes you to be able to put your full attention on your husband and on sex so that you can be fully present and enjoy yourself and enjoy the togetherness rather than getting frustrated with yourself for not being able to just automatically switch into deep intimacy mode. And I actually suggest you work this into your evening routine every day and not just on the days that you're planning to have sex, because this is a fantastic way to transition into more restful sleep or date night or just connecting with your husband. It allows you to just calm your body, calm your mind, and enter into the evening, into the night, whatever the night has in store. Thanks so much for listening. If you are not already following us on Instagram, be sure to check us out at Charting Toward Intimacy. And if you listen to podcasts on a platform that gives you the option to rate or review, we'd love for you to do that because it helps us spread the word about the podcast. If you ever have questions, comments, or episode topic ideas, please reach out to us. We love to hear from you. You can reach out on Instagram or send us an email. Our email is in the show notes. Until next time.